Welcome to South King's Landing, Explosion Network's House of the Dragon after show, where we're discussing and break down each and every episode of House of the Dragon Season 1. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me, Hand of the King, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here on this coup-filled episode.
Coup?
Yeah, it's a coup.
Oh, right. It's gotcha. Okay, yeah. I was like, I don't understand, but now I gotcha. This week's episode was titled The Green Council, synopsis of which was, while Alicent enlists Cole and Aemond to track Aegon, Otto gathers the great houses of Westeros to affirm their allegiance. What do you think of this week's penultimate Season 1 episode?
Yeah, really good. Obviously, it had a lot to live up to, I think, because obviously Game of Thrones penultimate episodes were kind of very notorious for being, big events. And this was very much a different kind of event, even though it didn't have the dragon fight that I was predicting last week. It was super tense, and obviously there was this all them trying to get their ducks in a row to steal the throne away from Rhaenyra. So I found the entire episode very riveting. What about you?
Yeah, I really liked it. I feel like, it was discussing last week, the penultimate's always known to be, covered in blood and massive events and stuff like that, or whatever. Some big shocking thing happens, but I'm sort of glad they didn't force maybe something so shocking into it when the shocking thing that's happening is literally the fact that they're stealing the throne away. I don't know if you need... Maybe they don't need to actually add anything to that. And then if at the end Aegon had decided to have someone's head chopped off, it would have just rung of Season 1, I guess, of Joffrey or, some shit like that. So I kind of like the way it all played out.
Ned,
Yes. It felt like a mostly, just like a thriller of an episode. You're like, who's going to die here? Who's going to get away? What are they going to do? How it was they're on this race. They're on a clock. Is Aegon going to randomly die? Is he? There's all these questions that's going on.
All these questions. You've obviously got Otto and Alicent kind of at odds a little bit on one major sticking point, whether to kill Rhaenyra or not. So they're both kind of chasing down Aegon in this episode. So. Which was interesting to watch. Yeah.
She's fucked now. I mean,
she's painted herself into a corner.
We'll get to him though in a sec because I just want to touch on the fact that it's sort of thrown out. The episode obviously starts, it picks up straight away, more or less. The king has died, and then straight away everything starts just twirling into motion, playing out. Everyone's starting to get all the ducks in a row. They jump straight into a council meeting, and then it was just the throwaway
the opening
part.
Of this episode though, I loved the kid, the child servant, just walking through the empty castle up to the head handmaid or whatever.
Yeah, just bring to her.
Just so quiet, just that little bit of score over it. Beautifully shot. Yeah, I really liked it. But yeah,
then we jump to the council, and they have this whole thing where it's just they're more or less say that they've been planning this coup for years under Alicent's own nose, which I found quite interesting.
Yeah,
not surprising at all.
Yeah,
however,
keep her hands clean a little bit.
Yeah, however, super interesting, and we always knew that Otto was always going to hope, or he was just waiting for this day, more or less. So, but just the calmness of the Lannister, whose name the first name I can't remember, but the Lannister is just we're just gonna start doing what we've been talking about then. We're just gonna start doing all that stuff. And
Thailand.
Lannister always pays his debts. And then pour one out for old mate.
Lord Beesbury.
Just gets his face.
Goes up, says, this is all wrong. We should actually believe what the king said while he was actually alive and not something that the queen says on his deathbed. And, the major villain of the season, Kristen Cole, smashed his head in.
Kristen Cole really has become like
he's done one of them old fashioned heel turns this season.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Like
he really had what, like 2-3 episodes.
First couple episodes, you're like, oh, him and Rhaenyra, it'd be great if they got together. And now he's the person, arguably the person people most want to see die.
Yeah, and when he dies, it's going to be
yeah.
And I can't decide who I want to kill him is the problem. Like who I want to see actually deal that finishing blow. Maybe one of Rhaenyra's kids would be a good good way for him to go
16
out.
and says, I guess I was strong enough to kill you.
Yeah, that's right, bitch. Yeah, so they have that whole meeting, everything, and then obviously the majority of this episode is sort of this hunt for Aegon, because of course it's like, okay, well, we're gonna put him on the throne. So then, as you're saying, you've got Otto's trying to find him first so he can get in his ear and tell him to put the death warrant on Rhaenyra and Prince Daemon and all that, the family, all that sort of stuff. And then Alicent wants to find him first to tell him not to do such a thing and not listen to Otto or any of those sorts of things. So that's why they're sort of having this race, which I guess if you blink and miss it, it may be like, why are they both trying to find, like, what's the thing? Yeah. Like, if you're not paying attention, I guess, like, you could very easily miss it, but that is why. Which I thought was interesting, because you get to see some pairings here that we haven't. You get to see two characters we've spent no time with.
Yeah, Eric and Eric.
Yep. Twins or whatever they are.
Call off parents. Come on, people. Again, why are you naming your children the same name and like the similar names?
There's only like 10 different names in the whole of Westeros at this point in history, apparently. And then you get to see the pairing of Kristen with and Aemond. Aemond, which I thought was an interesting little pairing. And not to say I like either of those two people, but for everything he says about his older brother, I'm like, he's right.
He's right.
Like, I think you're a piece of shit too, but
not as big a piece of shit as we think Aemond is.
No, because that's the thing. I feel like this episode does a very good job at setting up. Like, we already knew who Aegon was, right? We already knew he was this. This is a guy jerking out the window. The guy who raped a girl last episode. What was the last episode? Was it?
Yep.
So every other episode, or ever since this character's been introduced, you've just known he's a bit of he went from being a little shit to a massive cunt. Like
pretty
sex
much.
pests and everything like that. And now as this episode continues, you learn he's got other things. Like, he's got many a bastard, which he is apparently selling to a fight club where they're filing their teeth.
Yeah, this is maybe the most messed up thing in Game of Thrones so far.
Yeah.
These children that are being made to fight each other, and like
they're about 10 years old.
10 years old. The bastard kid looks younger than that. So, made to fight each other with like you said, filed down nails and teeth. It's like, fuck.
And apparently a thing that Aegon loves hanging out there.
Yeah, he's a
big
regular patron. Patron. They went to the same place that Daemon and Rhaenyra almost hooked up in I want to say episode 4 or 5. First.
Yeah, the brothel thing.
The brothel thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, his tastes have gotten a bit too extreme for
crazy
here.
for us. Yeah.
And we saw what was in there, so I mean, far out. Yeah.
Yeah. So you quickly get an idea of what type of sicko he is, which of course going into now he's going to be the king. This is all going to turn out very well.
Which causes the two Erics to be at odds with each other, kind of.
Yes, which was interesting. I kept forgetting which side. I couldn't work out which one was actually his dedicated knight and which one wasn't, and it was just a brother. I don't think it matters, but like, it does by the end, because I'm like, which one?
The dedicated brother who's like sick of his shit.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Was he the one who was fighting at the end?
I think his dedicated one is the one who walked away.
Okay, right. So it's the Oven fighting. Okay.
Yeah. Because he hasn't been putting up with Aegon shit this entire time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's fair. So they get Aegon after all this. I thought it was a little funny, little just hiding away. But this does tie back into the thing we had from last week's episode where it was like, you meet this, they show this woman and, you're like, oh, this is the secret
Sara.
spider web that, knows everyone and this sort of character who ties back in. We finally have her come back this episode. But again, we never saw her body. But it's implied that she is dead.
She gets killed by
the end of the episode.
Old Clubfoot.
Old Clubfoot burns him away. And we'll come back to him in a second.
Oh, man. She's old lass.
Yeah. So it's implied that she's dead. But the other thing I found so interesting about all this with having a character who's sort of the Varys sort of step in or whatever, like this, the discussion of this old Clubfoot discussing the many spiders and the secret network and everything. Like you're so used to it in Game of Thrones being discussed as, and they have someone on the council who's in there and who runs that and is in time with that. Whereas this is beforehand and it's talked about as such a like, oh, I never knew that could exist. Like how these people are embedded in different areas, and you know what I mean. Like it just sort of it's hard sometimes in the show because it's not like you don't see suddenly a change of technology or anything like that. It's to date it, but I feel like this is actually a time where you could see something that changed between here and the Game of Thrones couple, hundreds of years from now, where you can actually see a change in how things are. So I thought that was interesting. Do you think she's actually dead? This the master of the web or whatever?
Probably.
What a waste.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, that would be my gut instinct.
Because I feel like
unless
if
she escaped to like join Daemon's side, because obviously she was close to Daemon at the start of the series. So,
that's possible. But I was just I don't know what happened there with the whole. She was trying to put a stop to the Fight Club. So
hopefully that gets put to a stop.
I really don't think. I know Otto said he'll remember, but I don't trust him with a,
Yeah.
Don't trust him.
We don't see them in Game of Thrones, so I mean, either nobody frequented them in Game of Thrones or they got stopped at some point in the 200 years.
Oh, I mean, they get stopped eventually, I guess. Yes. There's your. It's more than 200 years, isn't it? Like, I think it's
217 or something. I can't remember.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's a very long time. Hopefully, I put a stop to them. In the next couple of years, not the next 200 years. Oh, that'd be good. But yeah, coming back to Old Clubfoot, what'd you make of this? The foot fetish scene.
Fucking hell!
Out of nowhere.
It was out of nowhere, and it was a bit weird at first. Like the first thing she does is just take off her shoes and puts her. Like, you
didn't get it straight away. I got it straight away.
What is?
I was like, oh, he's gonna.
I'm like, what is there? There's like they're spying on the floor, or are they reading? And then it wasn't until she took
you're being a bit naive.
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't until she took the sock off. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And also, the context clues before that was you got a like close up of his feet, so you can understand why maybe he lusts for other people's feet, normal feet.
He specifically lusts for her feet, I believe. So.
Well, yeah.
My lady.
Yeah.
I'll do anything for you. He's like, I'll do anything for you.
Yeah.
If you put that daintily for you off the edge of that couch.
It's so old fashioned because, like back in the day, like women have to hide their ankles and stuff. So.
Oh, they're mankles.
Yeah, mankles. Yeah. It was an odd scene, yeah, but obviously setting up, their relationship, which also was interesting when, he talks to Otto earlier on and just says he's in her quarters for very long hours and that kind of stuff. He says, makes an offer to him as well. So does he want to, like, look at his feet as well? I don't know.
Maybe he wants something else from Otto. I don't know. But it makes me wonder that every other time I've seen him have these discussions, has there been a moment
At
afterwards?
what point did he start asking to see a feet? Was it? I assume after he killed his brother and father.
I assume that was done for free, and then everything after that's been hey, I'll help you out.
Just give me those pay-per-views.
Give me them 10 toes, You know what I want to see. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
They do wiggle, wiggle. They don't fold.
Wiggle, yeah, they don't fold. Damn right. Yeah, so then of course by the time we get towards the end of the episode, we have the good night or whatever breakout.
Rhaenyra, who has a conversation with Alicent.
No, is it Rhaenys or Rhaenyra?
Rhaenys.
No,
Rhaenys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was like, fucking
hell. They're all the same.
They're all the same. Yeah, so she has this conversation with Alicent just prior where, I don't know, Alicent's full of shit still to me. I
think Alicent is trying to find a way to make this all go through peacefully.
Yeah.
And really there
I
is
think
no
she's
way
being naive. I think she's being naive.
She's being idealistic, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, she literally comes in and goes, oh, he said this thing on his deathbed. And the fact that she believes the mutterings of him and never questions, as I was talking about last week, the fact that she picks out the couple words she wants to take and not the several she had no understanding for and just chooses to take those for. She doesn't come into the council meeting and go, oh, well, actually the full sentences he said were blah, 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 the whatever he says about the Song of Ice and Fire. She's just like, no, he said Aegon King. She only focuses on what she wanted to hear.
Yep.
So I don't feel
Aegon
like it's
King was Prince who was promised. Yeah.
Yeah, and she just chooses to ignore the rest of it. But she comes in with this whole thing and is like, oh, so he deserves to be king because I heard it and it's definitely what he meant. There's no way it could mean literally anything else.
Yep.
No way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not. And then chooses to think that everything that she wants will just go over. Like when people start dying and talking about death and all this, she's like, oh, I never knew it would be like this. I'm like, oh no, I think you're being a bit.
Yeah.
Either being naive or purposely dumb or I don't know, like trying to keep some of your innocence amongst all this.
This was what she always wanted. She wanted Aegon on throne. So, any piece of information that supports your case, you grasp it on very tightly, as I tend to do on any podcast. Any information that supports your case, you got to use it to its fullest.
Fair enough. Yeah, so she has that scene where she talks to Rhaenys about, like, basically, I'll give you. Fucking, I don't know. You marry your daughters, you have Driftmark, all this sort of stuff. And
she just straight out says that Rhaenyra's children are not her grandchildren. No fear of repercussions anymore.
No, she doesn't care anymore. So, Rhaenys doesn't really say anything other than tease her and say, like, haven't you ever thought about sitting on the Iron Throne yourself? And then it's left there until old mate breaks her out.
Yep.
They get caught up amongst the crowd. The crowd as they're heading towards the keep.
It's the dragon pit.
The dragon pit.
Which seems like a dumb place.
It does seem, but I guess it's because they can. I guess it's just because they can. It's have all the people
they're
there.
Targaryens, they're dragons.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
But it also explains why Rhaenys was able to get the dragon so quickly.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I just assumed it was the dragon pit was like right next to it, but no, that adds up. It's like they're right below.
Yeah.
So they go there. We get to see the whole coronation thing with Aegon.
We do. We have the ride of Aegon in the chariot with Alicent, which I thought was reasonably telling. Like him, kind of outright saying he doesn't want to be king. He's not interested. But he doesn't truly believe that Viserys said that he wanted him to be king. One, because he had 20 years to say it.
Yeah.
And two, because he doesn't believe that Aegon, Viserys ever liked him or loved him, which is why he asked. He tries to get that.
Shit.
Yeah, well, because he is not worthy of love and that kind of stuff. But then he also asks his mother, like, "Do you love me?" And she doesn't say yes.
No. She just says, you silly boy.
You imbecile, yeah.
You imbecile. Yeah, but by the end, for someone who didn't want or care about the throne, I feel like it's not a good sign when once everything goes and happens and he has everyone in his family inside, like give him their little kneel bob or whatever. He gets the field of power. Everyone's cheering for him. You can tell when he starts throwing that sword up and down, you're like, oh no, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like,
he's quickly addicted to the approval.
He's now addicted to the
approval of the crowd, the cheering, which is kind of filling a void that he's always had, I guess.
Yeah. He's always wanted everyone to love him.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiled little kid who hasn't got enough love. Yeah. Well, fucking little bitch. But then, yeah, of course, the episode ends with the big shocking moment of actually, throwback. I don't know if you tell me his wife, which is also his sister.
Yep.
Aegon's right. Whatever her name is. I can't remember.
Yes,
she has that throwaway.
Alicent's daughter.
She has that throwaway line where she's like, "There's creaking under the floorboards," or like,
obviously she's been foreshadowing a lot of stuff throughout the season.
Yeah, that's just the dragon, right? At the end of the episode, I assume that's the
yeah.
So then the dragon bursts out at the end. Rhaenys has got her dragon, which to be fair, like I know when she was leaving, and old mate's like, "No, we can't go back for the dragon." I 100% think it's worth going back for the dragon because everyone who knows anything about the potential of a oncoming war, from Otto to Alicent to Daemon, everyone knows that the dragons are sort of the key players in said
Well, that's
war.
another reason they kept her locked up. They didn't want her to take her dragon to Rhaenyra.
Yeah, because that's a big time player. Yeah, so it's 100% worth her leaving and taking with them. Now, there's two things that I've seen people online talk about here. The first is what's up? Why doesn't she just Dracarys just burn them all?
Just murder them all, yeah.
Yeah. And B, does she have no respect for any of the civilians? How do you feel about either of these things?
I mean, she had to get out. She had to send a message. I think there was a temptation for her to say Dracarys, just take them all out. But, there's an element of her husband said, like, a few episodes ago, people don't remember blood, they remember names. And I guess she, as much as she doesn't care about legacy and stuff, she didn't necessarily want to be tied in the regicide of the entire Targaryen family. But if it was me, I would have pulled the trigger.
Yeah, she totally. This is one of those things where,
especially at her age, it's like, what do you care? What do you care?
But this is that moment we're going to look back on seasons from now, and like every time something horrible event happens, some character we really like dies in season 2, season 3.
If only.
If only, we'll always look at this and be like, if only Rhaenys in season 1, episode 9, the Green Council had have just fucking burnt them all, so and so would have lived. So and so would have lived. Like I can see it happening right now. It's already a meme.
Yeah.
It's already factual. And then the civilians, I don't really care.
That's pretty cold, but yeah.
I don't feel like people have been pointing out like it's some plot hole or something like that. So I don't really feel like it, man. She just doesn't care. Like, she doesn't care. I don't really care either, to be honest. So like they don't try and ignore the fact that she has killed some civilians there. They clearly show that she killed some civilians. So I don't really feel like it's a plot hole or some weird overshadowing thing. It's just, hey, people died.
People don't understand what a plot hole is.
No. I don't think they do.
She just killed a bunch of civilians. That's what she did.
Is what it is. I don't know. They got in the way. She had to get out. I think that's as simple as it is.
Yeah, they must have blocked like the other opening. Or she wanted to send a message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume they blocked it.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Because they didn't want her.
They said they were going to guard the entrance to the
entrance and everything.
So
yeah. She went in the back way. So
yeah.
She went in the one way
they were closing the door trying to keep her in, but also
yeah.
Can I say
else?
I was, as much as this episode is perfect and pretty great, I kind of wish we had have like gotten bits and pieces of like Rhaenyra and Daemon just doing domestic shit. Like, where's all this is going down? You know what I mean? Just raising the kids, having conversations, drinking tea, preparing to come back.
I'm still questioning, like, it makes me wonder if next episode just picks up Rhaenys arrives and is like,
It's got to.
Shit's fucked, son. Or, you know, Rhaenyra's like, they spot each other, like, flight path. She's like, turn around. 180. You got to go back.
She was flying back, yeah. Yeah.
Because she's supposed to be on her way back, remember? Wasn't that the whole thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, they died the day that they left, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean,
still, time is of the essence.
Yeah. Other things I want to mention, obviously, there's the scene with all the lords who, like, Otto's pretty much forcing them to bend a knee.
Oh, not pretty much, 100%.
He's 100%. We see one of them get, the one who tries to escape.
The one who tries to get escapes got hanged. The other two definitely aren't alive. And all those people that got wound up and put in the dungeon probably aren't going to be alive much longer either.
Yep. And then shout out to Lord Commander Harold Westerling, who like says, I swore my allegiance to the king. There's no king, so I'm not doing anything until we get one. Puts his cloak down.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if he's going to show up next week. Like, well, he can't actually because they already said they're going to make Kristen the Lord Commander, right?
So I think maybe he goes to the other side.
That'd be cool if he does.
An honourable man.
So,
who was clearly listing into all these schemes to murder her. So I can understand.
And you could tell he was not on board. He was not on board for that. So,
but he didn't do anything to Kristen Cole when Kristen Cole killed a person on the council. You know what I mean?
You should chop his fucking head off. Is what he should have done. All right. Council for this week is over. Of course, join us next week on South of King's Landing for the finale discussion of the House of Dragon Season 1. We've had a few other shows finish up across the Exposure Network podcast this past week as well. The Lord of the Rings Extended finished up talking about the Rings of Power, 2 episodes less than this show. And then over on All New Marvelcast finished up discussing about She-Hulk as well. The only other show that's continuing at the moment, Holocron Entries, Going Rogue, where we're talking about Andor. That will be continuing for at least a little while longer yet. So if you're watching that Star Wars show, make sure to check out and subscribe to that podcast feed and subscribe and check out to What Do You Want to Watch for everything else movie, TV, and media related. And we'll be back here next week for the season finale. Goodbye.